Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have two Honda legends, the ADV150 and the Honda Super Cub 125. In this video, we're going to look at both of these bikes. They're really quirky, very different, but which bike is right for you? The Honda Super Cub is basically a copy, a newer version of the most sold motorcycle ever. This is the 125 fuel injected version, and this is a Honda ADV 150. It's basically an adventure scooter, and it's its own species, really. Not many competitors out there to compete with this thing. So which bike is right for you? Super Cub 125, a 60s time capsule, and Honda's bestseller with over 100 million sold. And the ADV150, a futuristic adventure scooter that's basically its own species. One is for hipsters chasing nostalgia, the other's for rebels with errands. Which one deserves your paycheck? Let's find out in today's video. This is pretty much full gas, but you have a lot more flexibility than a scooter. So let's talk about history. The ADV150 is the newer kid. It debuted in 2019 as Honda's stab at blending scooter practicality with adventure. It's built on the bones of the Honda PCX 150, a popular urban scooter launched in 2010, but tweaked for a rugged edge. The idea, take the PCX's 149cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder with 14 horsepower and a CVT transmission, then slapped on chunkier tires, more suspension travel, 4.7 inches in the rear, and a taller stance to handle potholes or light trails. Honda pitched it as a adventure scooter, hence ADV. Though it's more city warrior than backwoods beast, was unveiled at the 2019 Bangkok Motor Show. It hit Southeast Asia first, where scooters dominate, before rolling into the US in 2020, and it cost about $4,299. Yep, it's heavier than the Super Cub at 294 pounds wet, but packs perks like a windshield, underseat storage for a helmet, and a 12-volt socket, which the Super Cub skips. The ADV is definitely less iconic than the Honda Super Cub. There's no 100 million units sold flex here, but it's carved a nice niche for riders wanting more grit than a standard scooter offers. Think of it as the Super Cub's cockier, younger cousin born for the Instagram age. Let's talk about engine and power, or the lack of it. The Super Cub has got a 124cc air cooled single cylinder that coughs up 9 horsepower. Pathetic? Yeah, sure. But the transmission makes it very punchy for a 125. Why a 125? Foreign licensing rules. The 125 feels bigger, meaner, and faster, like it's bluffing its way through life. The ADV 150, on the other hand, it's got a 149 liquid-cooled single-cylinder 14 horsepower, a rocket compared to the Super Cub. It's smooth, though Goldwing smooth, not quite. You hop off the Cub, and the ADV feels like it's a luxury bike. The engine's on the swing arm, low, rear heavy. The Cub's is frame mounted, centered, steady. ADV's front wheel dances, the Cub's digs in. The Honda ADV, no doubt, is the smoothest of the engines in this lineup. The Super Cub feels rough in comparison, with some vibrations coming through the frame and the foot pegs. Top speed are where the egos crash. The Super Cub's semi-automatic transmission flexes. I've hit 73 miles per hour downhill, and I giggle like a fool doing it. For a 125, that's a pretty big flex. You tweak the gears or sprockets, you can chase more speed, but unfortunately the 9 horsepower caps your dreams here. You can change the ratios of the sprocket in the front and in the rear. You can tweak it a little bit. Now on the ADV 150, you are stuck. At 62 miles per hour, even downhill, the bike will hit the rev limiter. So you are pretty much done at that speed. You can get weights, you can get a belt, you can get a better variator. The CVT has that limit. You can make some mods to squeeze out more, but you just can't hold your breath. The Cub wins, even with a 125cc engine. The top speed is better than the ADV150. How they roll, they're total opposites. The Super Cub's got a semi-auto 4-speed with no clutch. You just toe slap gears like it's 1955 and you're dodging Elvis fans. It's lazy shifting, but it slays hills. Drop a gear like a regular motorcycle, you can peak the RPMs, no choking. You can corner fast, downshift, and blast out. The heel shifter's there. It's for nostalgia or some shoe snobs, or if you ride in Thailand with sandals, you're going to admire the heel shifter. Now, I use the toe when I'm riding the Super Cub, motorcycle style. But that's the flexibility of the Super Cub. You can choose both. When I first rode my first Trail 125 in Norfolk with Clay, I was struggling trying to keep up with him because I could not get a handle of that heel shifter. And I didn't realize at the time that the Super Cub and the Trail 125 have the flexibility of either being a heel shifter or a toe shifter. Who knew? But that is a pretty good flexibility that it has. And of course, with the transmission, the Super Cub has got a chain and sprocket that lets you tweak the ratios. I haven't done it yet, but it's quite tempting. And for a bonus, the Super Cub has got an enclosed chain that keeps grime off your pants, and it might outlast your chain and sprockets. On the ADV150, the transmission is a CVT. You just twist and go. It's smooth as butter. Zero drama. Fuel injection just purrs. It's a fast and furious scooter nap. Belts wear out, though. Snap one and you're stranded. The Cub's chain grumbles warnings before the chain gives out. The CVT just dies. Cleaner? Yeah. The CVT is cleaner, no lube mess, but it is riskier for doing longer miles. In this application, I really like the CVT Honda scooters. They're the smoothest engines I've ever had. The PCX and the ADV150, they're kind of like the gold wings of the small scooter world. They are really brilliant with their transmissions and motors. Wheels, Honda's yin yang moment. The Super Cub's got a 17-inch spoked wheels. The first ride, you feel it. It handles like a motorcycle, it rides like a motorcycle. Big wheels means stability at speed. Unfortunately, with the Super Cub, you don't have a lot of speed. It's got a slower turn in, but it feels planted. It's got tubeless tires. And with very thin tires, the Super Cub just has very little rolling resistance. The bike itself with these wheels handles really well, and it's very familiar to anybody that rides a motorcycle. On the ADV150, it's got a very weird combination. 14-inch in the front and a 13-inch rear. Tubeless tires, they're thicker, they're very flickable, and on rough roads, it shrugs. Now, I don't understand the 13-inch rear. Honda. PCX has felt plushier with the 14 in the rear and the front. 13s is a compromise. Seat height, maybe they did it for the seat height, the suspension, whatever. The ADV is tall anyway. Another inch wouldn't really spook the riders that are going to get it. It's still nimble and it's pothole proof with the 13-inch rear. Alright, let's talk about suspension. The suspension on the Super Cub on mine is modified. The rear is different. But most of these scooters are way too soft. The current suspension I have on the Super Cub is very firm. And it works pretty well for roads that are a little bit rugged, but not so much because of the suspension, but because of the wheels. The 17-inch wheels on the Super Cub really help rolling through pothole-infested cities. On the ADV150, it's got something that a lot of scooters don't have. And this is the beauty of having ADV written on your bike. The ADV has got 4.7-inch rear travel, and it's quite legit for its application. It's got decent suspension for eating up bumps. I know, it's a fake adventure bike, but it's pretty good on gravel. I haven't had any issues of bottoming out the rear suspension. On the PCX that I had, I would bottom out quite a bit. And even on speed bumps, the PCX low rider style, the bottom part would hit the bump. But on the V150, I've had zero issues riding on city streets with potholes dropping off of curbs and even light gravel. Now, let's talk about DIY, do it yourself. The Super Cub is tiny, too tiny, and Honda skimped out on space. But it's a simple bike. It's a simple engine. The engine's head is up front, barely any plastic covering it for any valve adjustments that you might need later on. The chain needs some adjustment here and there and maintenance, but 9 horsepower is not going to kill the chain very fast. Adjust it, they might just outlast you. Now, on the ADV 150, doing any maintenance is a pain in the ass because of all the plastic. Now, maintenance on the ADV 150 feels like archaeology. It might make Honda Ruckus owners smirk. The battery's easy though. You pop the seat and boom, it's there. Heated gears, a tender, you just put it in and you're done. That bulletproof term is often overused in my opinion, but Honda has been slipping a little bit into quality as of late. Not because they've somehow stopped engineering great bikes, it's because they're trying to save costs. And you see that when they outsource these bikes to other countries. Both of these bikes are made in Mexico. My CRF 250 is made in Mexico. And I have noticed that the parts on these bikes tend to fail. It's never the motor, it's never the transmission, but it's the little parts. On my CRF 250, for example, the fan shroud melted into the radiator. That's something that I never saw in older bikes. Storage, your junk's destiny. The Super Cub, zip. No glove box, no underseat storage, not even a dime slot. It's a runway model type of bike. It's hot, but it's useless. The rear rack is your savior though. Without the rear rack on the Super Cub, the entire bike would be useless for doing any errands. You'd be stuck carrying a book bag everywhere you went. Honda did foresee this and they gave us a nice rear rack. On the ADV 150 has everything. It's the scooter of the capacity carrying gods. It's got a fat glove box with, get this, a 12 volt right in there to charge your phone, a underseat space for helmets, burritos, or even carrying your Harley. Passengers, well, the Super Cub's a hard no on this one. It's a one-seater, no pegs, no mercy. Want a buddy? Get a pen pal. Headlights, lights, and night riding. On the Super Cub, the lights are beautiful. They're LEDs, but I also have a complaint about the Super Cub's lighting. The Super Cub's rear taillight is very skinny. It's like a little whisper. Cars barely notice it in traffic. I've noticed this quite a bit. I've noticed that they do not see you as well because the taillight is just so thin and it's not as bright as the ADV 150. The headlight is like a single unit. It's got two with the high beam, but it feels inadequate for riding in the United States. On the ADV 150, the rear tail light is one of the brightest I've ever seen on any bike, motorcycle, scooter, or moped. It's one of the best ones I've ever seen. It's like a beacon. It's bright, it's bold, it's got this funky X pattern. Drivers spot it day or night. And the headlight is actually solid too. I'm always worried about getting rear-ended by cars, and having a nice bright taillight really matters. Mirrors. Now, normally I never talk about mirrors because mirrors work fairly well, but there is another issue with the Super Cub. The mirrors are really a lifeline when you think about it. The Super Cub's got these really small round ones. They look cute, they're nostalgic, but they're useless. They're too short to see behind you. They're basically a death wish in traffic. It's got a massive blind spot. With that little round mirror, the stock of the mirror should have been an inch longer than what they gave us. And why did Honda do that? I think they did it just because they liked the looks of the little tiny mirrors. But round mirrors on any bike are pretty useless. Now compare it to the ADV 150's mirrors. They are winners. The oblong, functional, and it's clear, even with a bulky jacket. You're going to see that jerk tailgating you without twisting your neck off. Safety first, style second. The ADV takes it here. There is no denying that the mirrors on the ADV 150 are better. Range. Now, the range is something that I also have a problem with the Super Cub. So the range, it's how far until you're out of gas, essentially. The Super Cub, I was surprised that it has a 1 gallon gas tank. I didn't really research the Super Cub before I bought it. I just thought it was like awesome looking. But I was surprised that it's a 1 gallon gas tank. And it hits about 100 to 140 miles per gallon. It's no joke when it comes to MPGs. But it's good for short jaunts. It's a cool road trip bike, but you're going to have to bring a gas can. When I first bought this, I noticed that the previous owner had a gas can, a small gas can, in the trunk. And now I know why. Sure, the miles per gallon are great, but the range is a joke. 90 miles and your light is flashing for you to fill up. And you're sweating. You actually get range anxiety on this bike. Something that you have a nice flex is the $2 fill ups. You bring change and you fill up the gas tank on this little tiny bike. On the ADV 150, it's got a 2.1 gallon gas tank. It's got a range of 160 to 200 miles. That is close to a lot of motorcycles with 6 gallon gas tanks. Because you get about 110 miles to the gallon, it has a great range and it's a great usable range. You can go from the city to the country and back without having to fill up. You don't have any range anxiety. The ADV wins unless you love to hover around gas stations all day long. Reliability and durability. Reliability, Hondas are kind of like cockroaches. Simple, tough, forever. The Super Cub's a legend. 60 years. It was made for 60 years. 100 million made. Air-cooled. 124 cc's. That just shrugs off abuse. It's thrashed worldwide. It's going to outlive your grandkids. Sure, it's going to be rusty, but it'll still run. The ADV 150 is newer, it's a liquid cool, it's a stronger frame. Both are unbreakable. Pick your flavor and go. But I do have to say that Honda quality has decreased over the years. You'll have little issues here and there, probably with parts that Honda outsourced to different companies. MPG, miles to the gallon, how efficient are these bikes? On the Super Cub, Honda actually claims that it gets 188 miles to the gallon. Now, I have not really have gotten 188 because a lot of these estimates are 188 British miles per gallon. In real world application, I think you'll see 130, 140 miles to the gallon. Even when you fill up at a expensive gas station, it is only $2. Now, the ADV 150 gets about 90 if you ride open throttle all the time to 110 miles to the gallon. It also has an MPG miles calculator right on the dash. It's a little thirstier, It lugs a little bit more weight. Both of these bikes are great for saving money on gas. They are extremely efficient bikes. The Super Cub 125. It's got iconic style. It's got a 60s motorcycle style that's very rare in any other bike on the market. The fuel economy that's incredible, 140 miles to the gallon. The ADV150, it's got a lot of technology. It's liquid cooled. It's got fuel injection. It's got a windscreen, and it's got storage for helmets, snacks. It's comfortable, suspension that spares your back, a long seat. It's smooth like a Goldwing. Cons. Super Cub. Top speed, only about 60 miles per hour, 73 miles per hour downhill. If the hill is tall enough, it's got brakes, front disc with ABS, rear drum, not that good. It's got zero storage. You basically have to use a backpack or some sort of trunk. It's got a very limited range of about 100 miles, presence of a tiny little moped on the road. It doesn't even have a 12-volt socket to charge your phone.
Another big con of this is that it doesn't come stock with a kickstand, just a center stand. One of the things that happens with this is that when you park on an incline facing down and you leave it in gear, it does stop. But if the incline is slightly backwards and you have the rear wheel facing the downhill, it just rolls. This one's got a handbrake, a very good handbrake. You just push it like that and it locks the rear wheel. This one doesn't have anything. So you rely on putting it on gear, but it only works if you go to the front. So if I remove it, it's in neutral. If I put it in first, you see how it stops. But if you park it on a downhill, it just moves. So not that great. And of course you have to shift. The shifting on this bike, you get used to it, but it's a whole lot clunkier and rougher than this. You feel a whole lot more vibrations on the Super Cub than you do on the ADV. The ADV150 is just silky smooth. This one is not. You feel vibration in the foot pegs, you feel vibration in the handlebars, but that's actually one of its appeal because it feels like it's a motorcycle and you're riding a motorcycle as opposed to a scooter.
So the conclusion, who wins? Super Cub 125, it's retro cool. It's got killer mileage. It's got I don't care energy. The ADV 150, it's got comfort. It's got storage. It's a great grocery run adventurer. You know, I'd grab both, ride them until they croak, and still bitch about the power. They're quirky, practical, weirder than they sound, but I love them.
What bike would you pick? Write in the comments below. If you had some money to buy and you only had to pick both of these bikes, what would you pick and why? For me, I like both of them, but I can't keep all of them. These are both great bikes. I really love them. You cannot go wrong with Hondas. Every Honda that I've ever bought has been dependable and reliable. Can't say that for other manufacturers. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.